Yeah, what do you think about his fight against Rico Verhoeven?
I think, he's going to go out there and do whatever he wanted to do. I think Rico going to be tough at first, but I think Usyk with his experience, he's going to figure him out fairly early, and I don't know. We're going to see for a good fight.
Do you think there's a lot of pressure on Usyk? Because he's got a lot to lose against a guy who's never really boxed before.
He used to the pressure. You got to understand, Usyk been having a lot of pressure on him since the Olympics, since winning the Olympics, since, going up to heavyweight and beating Fury, and all the things that he's been doing in the ring. So he's used to the pressure. It's no pressure for him.
Verhoeven is not as accomplished a boxer as Douglas or Rahman. So do these odds suggest that Usyk is seen as more beatable than Tyson or Lewis?
That's a good question. It's funny, right? Even though Usyk's 39, I feel like he's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any slippage at all. I feel like and if you see the photos, it looks like Usyk put on a lot of muscle. I mean, this guy looks like a tank right now.
It's true.
Rico don't got a shot.
No shot.
Front, man. He ain't got no shot. It's ridiculous.
But what do you think? Is Usyk do you see Usyk as vulnerable?
Usyk, man, I feel like he's at his best right now.
But what does he want to do in this fight? It's up to Usyk. Does he want to do it, and how fast does he want to do it? Does he want to do it when the bell rings and go after? Then he breaks the guy down. I think the over-under is 3.5, right? Something like that. Then he breaks the guy down. He's got a shot for the under. Otherwise, it's going to be over.
I think Usyk loses this fight in Egypt.
The showdown between Oleksandr Usyk and Rico Verhoeven is now just hours away. Anticipation is building rapidly as predictions pour in from fighters, analysts, and the wider combat sports community, all weighing in on how this cross-discipline clash might unfold. As the moment approaches, discussions and hype continue to intensify around what promises to be a highly anticipated meeting between two reigning champions from different combat sports worlds.
I don't know. With his experience, I don't know. I never seen the guy fight, so I can't testify to, what he's capable of doing. But I know Usyk, and I know what level he's on. And I think he's up for it. He's going to put on an amazing show come Saturday night. And I just wish them both the best. And, hopefully both of them can leave the ring safely.
Boxing analyst Adam Smith believes the fight will heavily favor Oleksandr Usyk, expecting him to control the pace and end things whenever he chooses. Smith explained his view by suggesting that Usyk is likely to be in full command, with a finish expected somewhere around the middle rounds, roughly between rounds 5 and 7. Adding another strong opinion, well-known boxing voice Teddy Atlas has taken a firm position as well. He does not foresee any shock result in this matchup, stressing the clear difference in high-level boxing experience. From his perspective, the striking success of Rico Verhoeven in kickboxing does not directly carry over to elite professional boxing at this level.
But we're not gonna see an upset. Verhoeven is a legendary kickboxer, but he's had one pro boxing fight, and he won
in 2014.
Yeah, against a handpicked guy. So he's 1-0, and he's not going to be 2-0.
At the same time, he recognizes the physical strength and durability of Rico Verhoeven, but he maintains an important distinction. According to this view, high-level professional boxing is an entirely different technical environment with its own demands and rhythm. From his standpoint, Oleksandr Usyk competes at a level where adapting from kickboxing to elite boxing becomes extremely challenging, making the stylistic gap difficult to bridge or overcome.
Big, strong guy, Verhoeven. He's in good shape. He's physical. He's game. He's experienced in the kickboxing realm. You don't take anyone for granted, but he doesn't figure to have any chance against Usyk. And Usyk is a serious guy, so I can't imagine like we were thinking about when, Tyson was fighting with Jake Paul.
Combat sports commentator Anthony Cola has described this pairing as an extremely unusual clash, even more unexpected than major crossover bouts like Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury or fights involving Anthony Joshua. In his assessment, Oleksandr Usyk is likely to dictate the action comfortably and bring the contest to a close around the midpoint of the fight. Kola, speaking on the matchup, emphasized how extraordinary the event feels, even comparing its shock value to other high-profile crossover bouts. He suggested that Usyk could approach the fight with a relaxed, entertaining style, almost enjoying the occasion, but still ultimately securing a finish by the halfway stage. At the same time, journalist Mike Coppinger notes that Usyk continues to perform at an elite level without any visible drop in speed, timing, or overall sharpness. He also observes a physical transformation, pointing out that Usyk appears noticeably stronger and more physically developed going into this matchup.
Usyk's 39. I feel like he's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any slippage at all. I feel like and if you see the photos, it looks like Usyk put on a lot of muscle. I mean, this guy looks like a tank right now.
It's true.
Rico don't got a shot.
However, Mike Coppinger is not entirely writing off Rico Verhoeven. He points to Verhoeven's years of dominance at the top level of kickboxing, along with his calm presence under pressure and his natural physical advantages. In his view, these qualities might carry over into boxing more effectively than many people assume on paper.
You're a guy that's so accomplished like Usyk, and then you're fighting a guy that is only his second pro fight, and he's doing a bunch of punching from weird angles. So it can be a little embarrassing because it's not the same, it's not the basic boxing style. Yeah, so you could probably get hit with weird shots that are coming from all crazy angles, him stepping off. So it could probably present complications for Usyk.
Combat sports figure Richie Woodhall believes the contest will ultimately swing in favor of Oleksandr Usyk, though he expects the early stages to be competitive due to the threat posed by Rico Verhoeven. Woodhall explained that Usyk is likely to prevail either on the scorecards or in the later rounds, with a personal prediction leaning toward a late stoppage. He noted that Verhoeven could start strongly, bringing serious power and danger in the opening exchanges, but suggested that Usyk's ability to adjust and break opponents down over time would eventually take over, leading to a late finish. Meanwhile, analyst Tom Aspinall adds a different angle by arguing that Verhoeven is somewhat underrated in this debate, even though he still considers Usyk the clearer overall favorite. He highlights the Dutch fighter's size and explosive strength as major factors. In his view, that single moment of knockout power is what prevents the matchup from feeling completely one-sided on paper.
You make of the fight between Oleksandr Usyk and Rico Verhoeven?
I mean, I think Rico's getting wrote off.
Did you come across him?
Listen, I've been training with Rico for the last 10 years, so I'm obviously pretty Rico biased. Rico's a good friend of mine. But he's a big man. He's had a lot of fights. Fair enough, they're fighting a different sport. But he can, like, if he hits him, it could be over. Do I think that Rico's a better boxer than Usyk? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all. But I think that he's getting wrote off and he's definitely got a chance of winning.
Changing the angle a bit, Chris Arreola emphasizes the importance of strength and physical presence in the matchup. Even so, he still sees the contest tipping in favor of Oleksandr Usyk fairly early. In his assessment, Usyk is likely to seize control once the rhythm of the fight is established, and he leans toward a stoppage outcome, suggesting that the difference in technical ability would become clear quite quickly after the opening rounds.
First of all, you can't teach size. You can't teach 6'5", 270. You can't teach that, all right? Second of all, whether it's kickboxing or boxing, he still has a pedigree of fighting. He knows what it's like to get hit. And those kicks ain't no joke. I'd rather get punched than kicked.
Right.
So he must have a good chin or good body work. So I'm looking forward just to see what Usyk could do against a lesser opponent. He probably should end up within 2 to 3 rounds.
In a similar vein, Shane McGuigan makes a firm case that elite boxing and kickboxing operate under completely different demands at the top level. He stresses that being fully specialized in boxing gives Oleksandr Usyk a clear and meaningful technical edge, one that would be extremely hard for any crossover opponent to neutralize in a high-level bout.
I feel like there's levels to this game. As a kickboxer, he's always going to be up against the guy who's a master at boxing. I don't think he's got a chance at all.
Former WBC light middleweight champion Sergio Mora anticipates that the footwork and smooth rhythm of Oleksandr Usyk will be too much for the bigger and more stationary Rico Verhoeven to handle. In his prediction, Mora expects Usyk to dictate the pace and ultimately secure a knockout around the 9th round. Boxing presenter Ade Oladipo also weighs in, acknowledging that Verhoeven's size, durability, and physical strength would create problems for most heavyweights. However, he stresses that this is not a typical opponent, pointing out that Verhoeven is stepping in against one of the all-time greats in Oleksandr Usyk. He adds that the fight could last as long as Usyk chooses, and predicts a corner stoppage around the 5th round. Meanwhile, Eddie Hall speaks from first-hand experience training alongside Verhoeven. Having observed him closely, he argues that many people underestimate just how exceptional Verhoeven is physically, especially when it comes to his size, athletic ability, and overall output.
Win, draw, or lose, he's going to shock the world. Everyone's written him off.
Yeah.
I've had the privilege to spend quite a bit of time with Rico. I've trained with Rico. I've been to watch him fight, ringside. He has got to be, hand on heart, the most frightening person on the planet. And even like top fighters say that, like Tom Aspinall wouldn't fight Rico in kickboxing. That's how scary a human being he is. For Tom Aspinall to say, I wouldn't fight Rico. And I could see it in his face, like genuinely meant it. I think Rico is the scariest man on the planet.
Dave Allen shares a comparable view, drawing on his own sparring sessions with Rico Verhoeven. He acknowledges that Verhoeven carries real, noticeable punching power, along with impressive physical strength. At the same time, he stresses that having natural power and athletic ability on its own is not enough to close the distance to world-class championship boxing standards.
It don't get no more deserving for a fight like this than ours.
Not if you beat a Fury. He doesn't think it is a give me at all. I can tell you that now. I'm fascinated to hear from him later on.
Do you know what, Anna? I think you're right, but and Peter's a really good coach. One of the most honourable men I've met in boxing and I've had the luxury of spending time with. But this is a fight where Oleksandr Usyk, when you look at them resumes and them records on that list, he is the one fighter who's defeated them all.
Yep.
And let's not...
Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn highlights how challenging it is to move between different combat sports when competing at the very top tier. He points out that jumping straight into elite-level boxing against a pound-for-pound caliber fighter represents a massive jump in skill, experience, and overall competition level.
I think it's a massive mountain to climb. I think whenever you are changing disciplines and you come in against the best in the division, it's always going to be a hard night's work. You're not just doing that against the best in the division, you're doing that against a pound-for-pound number one. But in this division, as we saw with Ngannou against Fury, and the difference is these guys can really punch, and if they land clean, there's going to be a problem, and Verhoeven can really punch.
Johnny Nelson offers a wider strategic perspective, pointing out that the current stage of Oleksandr Usyk's career doesn't leave many high-reward challenges that also bring major financial incentives. From that viewpoint, he explains that matchups involving fighters from different combat sports often emerge as a mix of commercial motivation and legacy-building chances, rather than purely traditional sporting pathways.
Would you have accepted someone from kickboxing fighting you for your world title while you were holding it, with him never having competed at that level?
Well, you've got to look at Oleksandr, what he's done. He's wiped the floor with everybody. He's established himself at the top there. So now you look at him and you'll think financially, will he be in a better position than Tyson Fury? No, not in my opinion. Anthony Joshua? No, not in my opinion. The big money fights aren't out there for him, so he's got to do something. He's got to put himself in a position where he's got to win, because he's proved he's top draw. So in this fight here, I think it creates interest, intrigue. I'm quite sure there's a healthy pay packet at the end of it. This is now business for him. This is now because he's thinking, I've proved it all to you, so I've got to make as much as I can. Because remember, the talk was Deontay Wilder for a short while, because he wants to get all the scalps. He wants to look at the biggest names out there with the least amount of risk, and you can't blame him.
Paul Smith expects the matchup to stay fairly uncomplicated overall. He recognizes the physical strength and size advantage of Rico Verhoeven, but maintains that success at the highest level of boxing demands much more than just natural power and athletic build.
See a world where this is a challenge for Usyk, or is it just a simple case of
he does him when he wants to.
I think it should be relatively straightforward, but it's combat sport. It's boxing at the end of the day. He's got 2 arms, he can punch, he's a banger in the kickboxing. He's heavy-handed apparently, and he's got a lot of power, and he's working with Peter Fury, so he will be a bit unorthodox, but I think as soon as Usyk gets to grips with it and eases into it, it should be relatively straightforward. I said last week on here, I'm not putting Dave Allen down. There's so many other factors that have got to go your way to have a chance in it, and just having 2 arms and being able to punch and being in the heavyweight division isn't one of them. But I just think, yeah, there's too much at stake for Usyk to take his eye off the ball and let it slip. He's a consummate professional. He's always done it the right way, and I just can't see anything but a relatively straightforward win for him.
Former professional boxer Stacey Copeland suggests that the kickboxing foundation of Rico Verhoeven could create some early uncertainty in the fight due to his unfamiliar style in a boxing setting. However, she also believes that the experience and fight intelligence of Oleksandr Usyk would gradually come into effect, allowing him to solve the puzzle and secure the victory. At the same time, Liam Harrison highlights how challenging it is to transition between combat sports at an elite level. He argues that techniques and instinct developed in kickboxing do not easily transfer into professional boxing success, and for that reason, he sees Usyk as the clear favorite due to his years of refined boxing experience.
Well, that'd be wild, wouldn't it? I think Rico's going to have to boot him in leg or something. If he wants to get any sort of advantage over him, no one can beat Usyk in a boxing fight. I don't care who you are. No one on this planet. He's the best heavyweight on this planet, and he's the best heavyweight of his era. And guys like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua can't put a dent in him. No one's going to be able to put a dent in him, I'm afraid. So yeah, Rico will have to throw a few leg kicks if he wants to get one over on him there. But again, Rico's a legend of kickboxing. Guys like that who have paved the way in kickboxing and have been the goats of their generation, they deserve to get these paydays and these sort of chances to showcase what they can do and just to promote themselves and to get some big money and stuff. So yeah, it'd be nice to see, to be fair.
However, Spencer Oliver points out that Rico Verhoeven views this matchup as a unique chance to make his mark in the heavyweight boxing scene. He also draws attention to the preparation taking place in camp, suggesting that Verhoeven may be arriving at this fight in a sharper and more ready condition than many observers are giving him credit for.
He recognises the opportunity, and that's what this game is. It's opportunity. It's heavyweight boxing. The kid can whack. He's a big old lump, and he's going to go out there. He's trained for 6 months for this, believe it or not, under the watchful eye of Peter Fury. You know, he's good with his hands anyway, and he gets that opportunity.
Chris Oliver, however, continues to see Rico Verhoeven as the obvious underdog in this matchup. Even though he acknowledges Verhoeven's physical strength and ability to absorb punishment, he emphasizes that Oleksandr Usyk has repeatedly dealt with heavy hitters throughout his career without showing much damage or disruption.
Verhoeven, I think that he would probably be a bigger underdog than Dave Allen was against Hrgovic, that's for sure. Like, it's a different discipline. Yeah, he's a big old lump.
He's an impressive figure, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an impressive figure, but he talks about size being a massive advantage for him, and when he lands that punch, none of the fighters before have been able to land that punch on Oleksandr Usyk, and when they have landed, you know, like, there's been no effect. So
finally, Kelvin Henderson turns attention to the business aspect of the matchup, noting that crossover bouts can sometimes find it difficult to gain strong mainstream attention in certain regions. However, he also acknowledges that when top-tier names are involved, these fights still tend to generate significant worldwide interest.
Just recently announced his next opponent, Rico Verhoeven, I guess. I don't know much about the guy, but apparently he's a huge kickboxing star, kickboxing champion. I'm not sure if it's a fight that Americans or the American entertainment value is going to really buy, but apparently he's a well-known name across the world in kickboxing. So we're going to see. I mean, it's hard for me to go against Usyk in this, man, just because Usyk is just a boxer. Maybe it's just a big PR money grab to afford the purse that Usyk is well deserved. But I don't know. Of course, I got to go with Usyk right now. What y'all think? Let me know.
When you strip it all back, this fight shapes up as a meeting between high-level boxing technique and raw heavyweight strength. Oleksandr Usyk arrives with elite-level skill, sharp movement, and deep experience against the best in the sport. On the other side, Rico Verhoeven brings significant size, serious punching power, and a championship-tested mentality built in kickboxing. With opinions split across the board, the key takeaway is straightforward. The result comes down to whether physical advantages are enough to disrupt a fighter operating at a far more refined technical level inside the boxing ring. And that sets up the big question. Do viewers believe Usyk's technical excellence is enough to control and close the fight, or can Verhoeven's power and size push this into a far more competitive battle than many are expecting?